A pleasant good morning to everyone. Who is the coach that we have with us this morning? You can answer, students. What is your coach's name?
The coach that we have this morning?
Yes, I understand Coach Bennett is absent.
Yeah, yes, Miss Robinson.
Miss Robinson, Coach Robinson. All right. Well, congratulations to you guys from your as reigning champions from last year. We have with us Judge Yannick Salesman, and she will be addressing and reviewing your presentation this morning. As you are aware, the Dinthill technical would have forfeited, which means that you would automatically move through to the quarterfinals round. However, those students in quarterfinals are showing up for their match, so you will have a match. All the rules remain the same, right? Your time for your speaking time. And even though we do not have your opponents, you will still think about your rebuttals. You will not be able to present it, but I guess the judge will give during her review, she will explain possibly what your opponents would have said. All right, my lady there, I can't remember, is it Denegio? She's a little serious. Dejane, you were the one in exam. Who was the one in the exams just now? You see? I hope your brain not too fried. And we have a new face here because I know these two faces here on the right. How are you and welcome? Is this your first time with the National Tourism Debate Competition?
Good morning, Miss. Yes, it is my first time.
All right. Well, welcome. An official welcome. So we want to give you a few minutes to prepare your speeches and then we will begin the presentation. All right. So your speeches are ready?
Just a question. We're not going to be asking POI from the adjudicators, am I right?
No.
Okay, so we just have to just present each other's
Right.
speeches and no rebuttal.
Yes, no rebuttal.
Okay, that's all.
Okay then.
Thank you.
Don't believe you're off the hook now, We do have our timekeeper with us. And she will keep time just the same. So let us officially welcome Charlemont High, who should have competed with Dinthill Technical.
Miss, we're not hearing you.
Hearing me? I don't know why. You're hearing me now? I didn't touch the thing. All right. Okay, maybe it's your microphone. Charlemont High, who was coached by Coach Bennett, and this morning we're joined by Coach Robinson. Charlemont High, can you introduce yourselves, please, to the audience, starting with the first speaker, second and third?
My name is Kadali Mackley.
My name is Chapon White.
My name is Tatiana Grant.
All right, congratulations to you again. And the motion that you will be presenting in the proposition side is this House resolves that the preservation of cultural integrity in tourism requires state-mandated zoning over the market-led expansion of the sharing economy. And you would have been in the proposing position. We want to take a minute to thank our sponsors, the Jamaica Hotel and Tourism Association, prizes from Royals and Luxury Resorts, Beaches Negril, Moon Palace Jamaica, and a trophy from Pair One, which is your best speaker trophy. Charlemont would have won that last year. The first speaker is allowed 7 minutes, second speaker 5 minutes, and third speaker 3 minutes, followed by a rebuttal of 3 minutes. But this morning we will not have a rebuttal. I'm going to ask the first speaker to begin his presentation.
Please.
Or her?
Could you?
Okay. Is it, how are you seated now?
We are going to. Can we utilize the? Can we utilize the podium?
Sure. As long as your coach is able to assist you, that's perfect.
Will they get the extra minute?
Yes, you can go ahead and
each?
utilize the podium.
Will they get the extra minutes for each?
Yes, you can. However, when the camera is on again in your quarterfinal run, we ask that the first speaker is already standing at the podium. Okay.
Can you hear?
Yes, please go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, honorable adjudicators, worthy opponents, and distinguished hosts, Charlemont High School rises with pride to propose the motion before us today. This house resolves that the preservation of cultural integrity in tourism requires state-mandated zoning over the market-led expansion of the sharing economy. Before this debate proceeds, let us be clear on what we're discussing. Cultural integrity means the capacity of a community to live, practice, and transmit its traditions, language, and social identity on its own terms, not as a performance for tourists, but as a living reality for the people who call that place home. State-mandated zoning means a lawful designation by government of where in that volume and under what conditions short-term rental tourism activity may operate within communities. The sharing economy in this debate refers to platforms such as Airbnb, a sector that by its own 2023 financial report operates over 7 million active listings across more than 220 countries and territories. Our team line insists the market does not preserve culture. It commodifies it, packages it, and sells it until nothing authentic remains. And once sold, culture cannot be brought back. The state must intervene, and this house must support that intervention. This house must understand what happens when the sharing economy enters a neighborhood without regulation. Peer-reviewed research published in the Journal of Urban Affairs in 2024 studied Valparaiso, Chile, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and found that market-led tourism expansion systematically converted residential housing into tourist accommodation, displacing the very communities whose culture made that city worth visiting. The researchers describe what remained as a tourist bubble, a zone where locals no longer live, where only a commercial simulation of culture exists for visitors to photograph. Culture reduced to a souvenir. This is not an isolated case. Academic literature has given this phenomenon a name, touristification, the process by which a living neighborhood is converted into a tourism product. A 2023 Science Direct systematic review, drawing on 117 peer-reviewed papers, concluded that Airbnb has been directly associated with an increase in tourist-oriented businesses and is a measurable decline in local culture across multiple cities worldwide. That is not an opinion. That is the accumulated verdict of over 100 academic studies. The mechanism is straightforward. Peer-reviewed research published in Science Direct confirms that it is specifically multi-property hosts, not local families with a spare room, who cause the greatest disruption. That 2023 study found that hosts owning multiple units substantially cause the greatest disturbances in terms of rent increases and the displacement of lower income households. The families who built and sustained that culture are removed. What remains is a rental unit with a welcome basket and a 4-star rating. Now here are the numbers that make this urgent in our own region. Jamaica's Airbnb market grew from 59,500 guests in 2017 to over 800,000 guests in 2024, a growth of 1,200% in 7 years, according to Junior Tourism Minister Delano Silvera. Short tourism rentals now account for 36% of all visitor accommodation in Jamaica, as stated by Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett in the 2024 sectoral debate. The sector is already here. A 2024 Jamaica Homes analysis warned that as more properties convert to short-term rentals, the supply of long-term rentals will decrease, placing upward pressure on rental prices and making it harder for local residents to afford housing in their own communities. Remove the residents and you remove the culture. The mechanism of destruction is economic, but the loss is cultural, and that loss is permanent. The state has both the mandate and the demonstrated ability to protect culture through zoning. Barcelona is a fully functioning democracy whose rental prices rose 70% in a single decade as short-term rentals proliferated. By 2024, over 2,800 residents took to the streets demanding action. In June 2024, Mayor John Colboni announced all 10,101 short-term rental licenses would be phased out by 2028. In March 2025, Spain's Constitutional Court upheld that plan entirely. A democratic government accountable to its people, using zoning as the instrument of community protection. That is precisely what the proposition is defending. Kyoto, home to 17 UNESCO World Heritage Sites and 50 million annual visitors, has implemented strict zoning and accommodation regulation. A 2024 peer-reviewed paper in the Sage Journal confirmed that historic sites require special attention to address tourism pressure in residential quarters. And Kyoto's zoning has been specifically cited for preserving the traditional landscape and cultural identity that defines the city. The state drew lines, culture survived. And critically, Jamaica's own government has arrived at the same conclusion. Mr. Chairman, let this House be clear about where the proposition stands. We're not enemies of tourism. We stand as defenders of something that market price cannot price and will not protect. The right of a community to remain to itself. My colleagues will build on this foundation. The proposition is spoken and we're confident in what we've laid before this House. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now invite our second speaker to the podium.
Good morning, are you hearing me?
Yes, we are. Please go ahead.
I will begin in 3, 2, 1. Madam Speaker, honorable adjudicators, Charlemont High School continues our case. The opposition wants this House to picture a Jamaican family renting a spare room and earning independence. It is a carefully chosen image. The data does not support it. Peer-reviewed research from the Science Direct in 2023 found that it is specifically hosts owning multiple units who cause the greatest disruption. Driving up rents and displacing lower-income households at rates cause the greatest disruption. In mature Airbnb markets, professional multi-listing investors, not local families, dominate platform earnings. The empowerment story is Airbnb's marketing. The displacement story is the peer-reviewed record. The 2024 Jamaica Homes analysis warned that as listings multiply, the long-term rental supply contracts and prices rise. making it harder for local residents, Madam Speaker, to remain in their own communities. The people the opposition claims to empower are the very people being priced out of the communities they have lived in for generations. The opposition may argue that the culture is dynamic and governments have no right to define it. The proposition agrees completely that culture evolves. We are not asking the state to freeze anything. We are asking, Madam Speaker, that cultural change be driven by communities themselves, not by the quarterly revenue targets of a platform headquartered abroad. There is a fundamental and irreducible difference between organic cultural evolution, which emerges from within a community on its own timeline, and forced cultural erasure, which comes from external market pressure, converting residential neighborhoods into tourist corridors overnight. Zoning prevents the second. The community retains every right to change. What it loses without zoning is the power to stay. The deepest truth, Madam Speaker, of this debate is one economics cannot answer. Culture, once lost, cannot be recovered. A 2025 University of Manchester study found that the global heritage tourism market is valued at $605 billion US, but warned that unmanaged tourism leads to loss of authenticity, displacement, and gentrification. A lost tradition has no supply chain. A displaced community cannot be rehoused into cultural identity it once held. Machu Picchu makes this plain. Despite UNESCO World Heritage status, UNESCO warned Peru in 2017 the site could be classified as endangered due to overcrowding from unregulated tourism. It still receives double its recommended daily visitor limit. Heritage designation alone is not protection. Legal enforceable zoning is. Jamaica is at a tipping point. The Airbnb sector grew 1,200% in seven years. The Jamaica Tourist Board Bill was specifically designed to protect brand Jamaica through licensing and registration. It was stalled by an industry pushback. The market resisting the very regulation it requires. The government identified the risk. The market proved it will not self-correct. If not now, when? If through the state, through whom? The proposition has no answer to either of these questions. So I end this. Culture is not a product with a restock button. When it is gone, there is absolutely nothing left to debate. The proposition rests momentary.
Strong presentation indeed. We will now invite our third speaker to the podium.
May I begin?
Yes, you may proceed.
Madam Speaker, honorable adjudicators, this House has heard both sides and the balance is clear. The opposition has spoken at length, but failed to answer one question this debate turns on. Who has the power to protect culture when the market will not? They offered no mechanism. They offered no precedent. They offered hope, and hope is not a policy. Consider what stands unrefuted. Airbnb operates 7 million listings across 220 countries with no cultural accountability in its model. Multi-property investors, not local families, drive the greatest displacement in mature markets. Touristification, documented across 117 peer-reviewed studies, causes a measurable decline in local culture. The market sells. It does not preserve. Consider what real governments have done. Barcelona's democratically elected government phased out 10,101 short-term rental licenses and was upheld by Spain's Constitutional Court in 2025. Kyoto's zoning has been cited in peer-reviewed literature as a model of institutional maturity in protecting cultural identity. Jamaica's own tourism minister Bartlett stood before Parliament and said the purpose of regulating short-term rentals is to safeguard the country's brand. You cannot dismiss Barcelona, Kyoto, and our own government stated position simultaneously. The proposition stands with the evidence, with the courts, and with the ministers of this island. And consider what is irreversible. A community that has been displaced has no choice left to exercise. A tradition commercialized into extinction cannot be revived by a policy paper. The stakes of inaction are permanent. This House has one question for it, not whether tourism matters, because it does, not whether the shared economy has ever benefited anyone, because at small scale it has. The question is whether communities deserve a legal instrument to protect their culture from being sold one rental listing at a time. The proposition says yes. The evidence says yes. Jamaica's own tourism minister says yes. And this House should say yes. Culture is not a product. It is a people. It is history. And a people with a history deserves more than a market price. Charlemont High School is proud to propose. I thank you.
Thank you very much. And just a reminder of our motion this morning. This House resolves that the preservation of cultural integrity in tourism requires state mandated zoning over the market led expansion of the sharing economy. We will now give our judge some time to deliberate and come back with her remarks.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm still putting the scores together, but for clarity, was able to pronounce it, someone tell me, just type the
Sorry, Miss, you're breaking
names.
up.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Right. I'm saying, please type your names in the chat, your speakers' names. I wasn't able to hear you very clearly earlier.
Names have been sent, Miss.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You may go ahead, Judge Salesman, please.
I need about 5 more minutes, Michelle. Thanks so much.
Not a problem. And while we wait, Yannick Salesman is the CEO for consultancy agency Tourism Booster Online. She does certificate training for Team Jamaica. So she has been in the tourism industry for quite some time.
Right, good afternoon. I'm rushing the day. Good morning again, everyone. Please let me know if you're hearing me clearly.
Yes, we're hearing you.
All right. It's nice to see you again, Charlemont team. I remember you from last year. Um, and I see where the speakers that from the last year's team, you certainly made some improvements. So kudos. From a general standpoint, I think Charlemont has always, well, since I've met you last year, you've been excellent in your delivery, in your overall delivery and flow and style and use of voice and tone. So I much appreciated that. And so for the most part, all speakers as it relates to style received the maximum marks of 10. Um, Voice, gesture, stance. For second speaker, Shaquan White, I'm going to encourage you to work a little bit more on your flow. I'm not sure if it's because you get nervous, so you tend to make some mistakes that throws off your overall presentation. 1 point for first speaker, Miss McLean. Um, Ensure that you know the names, especially when you're referring to official government ministers. You gave Mr. Delano Seabright a completely different last name. It affects or impacts your, it might be that you have the correct name on paper, but what you said was not his actual name. All right. So that also impacts the credibility of your presentation. So work on that. Um, and that's just in reference to general presentation. So team, excellent in your presentation style. Just keep this momentum and take these criticism. Now, as it relates to analysis, definition, and interpretation, generally for the team, I was expecting more. You did an excellent job of presenting why or the necessity of zoning, especially as it relates to what I got a lot from your arguments were the displacements of our locals, the driving up of the prices. But I'm not sure if I missed this. The only speaker who clearly articulated what culture is was really Miss Grant when she said this towards the end of the presentation. Culture is our people, culture is our history. So for the general flow of your presentation, I wasn't able to see how the connection between how the driving up of the prices or the movement of the people disrupts the cultural integrity because you have not established. So you've mentioned it, kind of glossed over it, yes, but how does that impact the cultural integrity of the people? You also use excellent use of data. And I think this was something I remember from your final match last year. We had encouraged you to do. I saw diversity in the data from the various countries to support your points of um, companies like Airbnb forcing persons to be displaced. If I were in the opposition shoes, I would be speaking to not just the the pricing of short-term rentals. I would, and you mentioned UNESCO. There needing to be more of an effective zoning mechanism rather than what currently exists. And you mentioned UNESCO zoning the spaces as cultural heritage sites is not being enough. Um, if I were the opposition, I would want to zone in on that and delve into that in a little bit more detail. But overall, I felt like you had more room to say you needed to make that connection. The important words for me were culture, cultural integrity, and zoning. And you zoned in heavily on zoning and showcased why. or you showcase what zoning, what not having zoning could lead to using the data. But I still felt like there was a gap missing in terms of showing how that impacted the cultural integrity, or how that may impact the cultural integrity of the country. My second comment on your use of data, while it was diverse international, I didn't hear a lot of Caribbean examples. I heard Jamaican examples or references. Kudos to you there. I am sure there is quite a bit of data regionally, so I would bring that into the mix as well. All right, so given those comments, your first speaker received a score of 80. Your second speaker received a score of 81, and your third speaker received a score of 89, bringing the total score for the team to 250 at this point. Those are my final comments. But excellent style. Just ensure that you work on tying, you look at the keywords and tying your definitions and your data together. I also would keep the flow of the team the same. You complemented each other well.
Thank
Handing
you,
over to you,
Jay.
Mr.
Thank you, Shanara. 1 minute. Thank you, Judge Salesman. 1 minute. Well, well thought out, Judge Salesman. And I know you would have, and you remembered them from last year, which is incredible. Thank you so very much. Charlemont High, I hope you listen. And there was a lot to take away from this morning's motion. I went ahead and shared our live clip, and a lot of persons were interested to hear what it is you had to present on the Airbnb market. We want to thank our production team, Shanaro, who is with us. She was our timekeeper, and we will forward the times to your coaches to see if you had presented during the time that was allocated. We'd like to thank the JHTA for their support. Prices from the Royalton Lux Resort, Beaches Negril, Moon Palace, Jamaica, and a trophy from Pair One. When we return, we will be in the final match of the preliminary rounds, and that's Glenmore High, who will be taking on the Carteret College. I'm your host, Michelle Tulloch, and we had just reviewed the presentation by Charlemont High. Thank you very much, Charlemont High, and good luck in the quarterfinals.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ladies.
I had one comment. The teacher in me is coming out as it relates to the culture. I expected you to delve into. You spoke about community, using phrases like community tourism. So do a little research on that. How do you maintain the real essence of community tourism while incorporating Airbnbs? You should probably know by now that Treasure Beach is the standard bearer, so maybe use that as your research point. All right. Those are my final comments for real now. All the best in competition.
Thank you, Yanni. Thank you so much.